All right, so it's 2022 and pandemic is still a thing. In fact, they're tightening up back again with the restrictions and stuff, the masks and all that fun jazz. And I actually had an interesting question for all of you, and it comes from Ask Reddit, but it's a very valid question. What do you miss the most from pre-COVID? If you guys have a good answer or anything, let me know in the comments down below, because I think that's actually pretty important. This is the third year that this has been going on, pretty much. It started technically in 2019 and the end of 2019, and here we are in 2022, and this is still a thing. So the world is going through a lot of different changes. A lot of things have happened. So I'm going to be reading off some answers here from the Ask Reddit thread, and we're going to discuss this and see if you guys agree with any of these points. But I'm also going to be looking in the comment section and kind of looking at whatever you guys decide to comment down below. So let's go ahead and check this out. So the first answer we have here is not being able to book things long in advance because you have no idea what the situation will be like in a handful of months. You can sure as hell buy tickets for a gig that's happening months from now, but is it actually going to happen when it's supposed to? Who the fuck knows? And that's pretty huge. I have something booked for 2 months from now. It's a cruise, and I'm not sure if that's even gonna, I hope it goes through, but who knows? This pandemic stuff is getting worse and worse and worse. But people are getting more and more antsy. It's like, bro, okay, we get it. It's bad, but we still want to go out and do stuff. So, I mean, you can only keep people, locked in place for so long, and I get it. Obviously there's regulations in place to keep everyone safe, but as you can see, people are losing patience and they're not trying to do that. So boom, as a person who works nights, stores and restaurants that are open late, I used to be able to get out of work at whatever hour and have dozen grocery stores and fast food restaurants that I could stop at on the way home. And now, just 2 years after the pandemic, I have only one or two, and sometimes they'll be closed anyway for whatever reason. And that's another thing I agree with. So there's a grocery store that is down the road, right? And when the pandemic hit for the first time, it used to be open to 10 p.m. and now it's probably open to 8 or 9. I'm pretty sure it's 8, honestly. And it's unfortunate because the shift that I work, it's nights, right? So when I get off work, it's probably midnight and nothing's open because of the pandemic, man. People readjusted their hours and stuff and whatever. Now, some places have gone back to their old working hours, but places like Walmart, for instance, which, it'd be nice to kind of stop there and grab something quick if I forget something or whatever in the middle of the night, it's no longer open 24/7, just purely because of the pandemic and stuff like that. So that's unfortunate too, man. Boom. So this guy right here says, I guess I miss not having a stack of inconveniences that have to be dealt with in order to do public things. It's not that any one inconvenience is too much. It's just so many little things. So I actually don't really understand this too much. It says, I guess I miss not having a stack of inconveniences that have to be dealt with in order to do public things. I don't get that. If somebody can explain that, let me know. He said, amen to that. All the little things add up. Boom. I don't really understand that at all. Boom. Really living. This feels like just existing. I'm stuck with this overwhelming feeling of ennui, bored with food, bored with TV, bored with social media, bored with the books. I think that's happened a lot. I mean, something that you guys can probably agree with that's happened over the last 2 years too is the content has changed dramatically on the internet over the last 2 years. I feel like the reason why people deem the internet now quote unquote sensitive is because we have way more people than ever with their Twitter fingers popping, a lot more people are looking and nitpicking at small situations and making them big deals. I feel like now too, the motivation to make high quality quote unquote content, original content quote unquote, is kind of gotten thrown out of the window. Everyone's doing reaction videos and stuff, myself myself included. And not a lot of people are, you know, doing the things they were doing back in 2016, you know, mainly to fulfill the algorithms and, you know, fit within a certain meta. But it's become very different. Like the entire climate's changing. Short form content is now a thing, but you can put in even less effort into those than anything else. Like if I'm being honest, like all I have to do is find some old videos of mine and chop them up into 12, 15 small clips, and I'm 1,000% sure those will get hundreds of thousands of views, you know. So you know, that's pretty much what the world's turned into now. Someone said my optimism for my future. Oh my gosh. A lot of people are missing stores being open late. That's like a big thing. And I agree 100%. Dang. Someone said my grandparents. That's crazy. That's crazy. Boom. There is another one that says in-person classes. Before COVID, I took a drawing class, a sewing class, and now it's much harder to try out a new hobby. That's very true. I also feel like social interactions now are like real different than they were pre-COVID. Like I guess there's always in the back of your mind, like, should we be gathering in this group of people? Like, you know, should I even waste my time to go out and socialize while all this stuff is going on? I feel like it's low key made this generation a lot more antisocial because of like the stay-at-home place orders and stuff like that and whatever, which is just kind of a side effect of the whole thing, you know. Someone says the problem is that in isolation you have more time to try out new hobbies, but you're too exhausted from how upsetting the world is to have the discipline to keep up with those hobbies in isolation. I try not to feel guilty about letting myself do nothing for a while if I feel overwhelmed. That's honestly hitting the hammer on the nail right there. There's a few more we'll read, and then we'll kind of close this up, and I'll pass the question to you guys. How do you feel about this? Someone else says not living in a constantly changing system. Pre-COVID, everything was scheduled. School holidays, places were open to visit, but since COVID, everything has to do with the government. Everything that has to do with the government is constantly changing. I just miss being on stable ground, which is also a thing too. We don't know what the next big thing is going to be. A lot of things are changing around, and boom, it's crazy, man. Someone actually saved themselves a lot of drama right here. They said, I graduated in 2019 and decided to take a gap year in 2020, and thank fuck that I did. Crazy, man. Imagine having a gap year. Like, imagine not having a gap year, which is like taking a year off of school and going straight into college, and then everything being online, man. I can't tell you how many people I know personally that wound up graduating college online in that year, man, because in-person classes were just not the business in 2020 for sure. Making appointments of various kinds, medical, dental, renewing driver's licenses and such, and especially vet appointments seems like a huge hassle now, and sometimes the next free slot is weeks or months out. All right, so this is huge. So I actually had a dental appointment. Normally it's easy to get those scheduled and whatnot. You can get them scheduled within like the next week or next 2 weeks, but I remember having to schedule my dental appointment, and their next available slot was 6 months in the future. 6 months. Imagine that. So backed up from having all of these other things. And of course, like, it's ridiculous. That's just the medical side of things, man. But like, I remember having to renew my registration for my car because I had to renew my tags and stuff. My tags were expired. So I'm like, okay, I'll just go and walk in. Normally, you can walk into any like government building that does this and just wait in line. You know, you can wait in line, and once it's your turn to go up and renew your license, that's that. But I went up there and they had a sign on their door, and they said you have to schedule an appointment online. And guess what? And go figure. The next available slot was months in the future. So it was kind of ridiculous, and I don't know, it made things a lot more frustrating, and I could only imagine it's the same thing overseas in other places. So if you guys have anything that's relatable, please let me know in the comments down below. I think this is a pretty interesting topic. We don't really talk about stuff like that on here too much, so I figured this would be a really good day to kind of like sit down and talk about the things we miss about pre-COVID, because I mean, holy shit, man. Boom. Honestly, just the feeling of security we didn't realize. You want to go out, go for it. Making plans somewhere out of town, you go right ahead. Planning a vacation somewhere, no problem. Now you can't really make any large-scale plans without the decent chance it'll get canceled and you'll lose the down payments. That's also very true, and it's very overwhelming to a degree. It's like, damn, like, can we even really do this? And I feel like the more this goes on, have you guys noticed there's been like 5, 6, 7 new strands of the pandemic virus thing going on and stuff? And you know, it's only getting, it'll get worse before it gets better. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. I definitely have myself personally noticed a kind of a downward spiral in general public optimism. You know what I mean? Like the optimism, like what is that these days? Things have gotten a little bit better, like some places, even America to a degree, because a lot more people have gotten vaccinated and stuff, have, you know, opened up some stores and stuff and things of that nature. But this is also flu season, so on top of the flu going around and getting everybody, we now have this new virus like taking people out of existence and stuff, and ruining plans and, you know, a lot of different things. So it's very unfortunate what's happening now. But, you know, I figured this is something that, you know, we could talk about that has nothing really to do with what I normally talk about on my channel. But I kind of wanted to open up this segment to you guys, because I thought this was a pretty interesting little thing, man. Basically, people want normality. It's just there's not much of that these days. So I don't know, what do you guys miss most about pre-COVID, like things that you would do regularly that you took for granted prior to this whole pandemic situation being a thing? I think that's something that a lot of people are now reflecting on. One big thing that I feel like the pandemic has done, and I talked about it a little bit in 2020, was it's allowed and it's put people in a weird position to kind of just sit with themselves and really figure themselves out. You know, even those people who haven't had a chance to like sit down and really figure themselves out, like, hey, like, I need to get to know myself. A lot of people are realizing that there's habits and things that they that we're doing that could have been pretty toxic. A lot of people are realizing different little things of themselves, and I feel like in most other situations that probably would have either taken a lot longer to get to, or it would have never happened. So in some ways, shapes, or form, like the fallout from the pandemic, it has its pros and cons, but it has more cons than pros. One of the only pros I think I got out of the pandemic was being able to like self-reflect and, you know, correct some behaviors that might have been a little bit more on the toxic side and stuff like that, you know, and just kind of like planning your future and stuff like that, and seeing what direction in life you want to kind of go in. But I don't know, maybe I'm getting too deep. You guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. But that's pretty much today's video. I'm really curious to hear what you guys have, and as far as thoughts and feelings go with this whole situation. And that's pretty much it. See ya.